Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, first intermission, second intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi. That's what they're saying. It's not just us. It's the people who watch and maybe even after the fact listen to the Press Row Show. We are emanating live from the Sportsbook here at the Wells Fargo Center, the unnamed Sportsbook. They don't sponsor us. We don't say the name. But I will say two names, two gentlemen to my right, your left, Anthony SanFilippo. But we're not here to hear from him. We're here to hear from Adam Kimmelman. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's nice little setup you got here.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. I was wiping the ravioli sauce off of my mouth there.
Standard.
Some people thought I was having dinner, and that's why we were late tonight.
That's standard.
Yeah, well, they forgot that it's a 7:30 start and not a 7 o'clock start tonight. But, Adam, you know, we're 11 games in. It's the 12th game of the season, and the Flyers are playing some pretty good hockey, and I think it's kind of surprising some people. What's your take on it?
It really is. If you go back and you look year upon year to where they were a year ago to where they are now, night and day. Yep. And it's not really so much a comment on the talent that's here now or that isn't here now. It's the work ethic, the buy-in, the way they've sort of adopted. You know, they say teams take on the mentality of their coach. This is a coach who demands hard work, demands, you know, high work ethic, and you see that night after night. They might not have the talent to hang with some of the teams, but you see them go 1-goal loss to Vegas, overtime loss in Dallas, 1-goal loss against Carolina. Those are 3 teams that are considered Stanley Cup contenders, and they were right there, and you can say they could have won all 3 of those games. That's a stark difference from where they were a year ago.
And the thing that's impressing me even more, and I look at a game like last night where they beat Buffalo 5-1, is Carter Hart gets hurt. You got to go to the backup, Sam Urson, who had not looked good prior to last night. You're minus Sean Couturier, who has been good to start the season, but he has an injury, and yet they pick right up. And they take that next man up mentality, which is very cliche in sports, but they are the living, breathing example of that, right. And they're doing it.
Right, they are. And again, it goes back to they are fully bought in to what this coach wants. You listen to Travis Konechny talk. He's a guy who is go, attack. And he's looking at his own play and he's saying, there are things they could have done better. He's tied for the league lead in goals with 9. He scored his 150th in the NHL last night. This is a guy who is on top of his game at a level that we haven't seen since his time in the NHL. And he's saying, there are things I can do better, things I can be better at. And if you watch him, yes, it's obvious there is. You know, he's had a couple of rough giveaways, certainly on the penalty kill, but there's way more good than bad. But he's still putting in the work. It's the work first, then the skill. And that's what, you know, it is cliche, but every coach demands that. This coach more than others, but this team has fully bought in. And I think what also helps is you have Sean Couturier. He's not in tonight, but he has been back. You have Cam Atkinson back, and that ups your depth. It ups your professionalism. Certainly with Atkinson, who knows this playbook from having lived it for 6 years in Columbus. He knows what this coach wants. He knows what this coach demands and the work ethic and the standard, and he has helped bring guys along. And then you look at this holdover group that has a year of experience in it for the most part, almost everybody on this roster. There is no let up. There is no back down. This is what we're doing. You either get with it or you get gone. And this group has elected to get with it in a big way. And you can see it in the success they're having. 5-on-5, penalty kill. The power play is still an issue, but their overall play this year compared to last year, 12 months on, markedly different and markedly better.
And it's wild when you think about it because, you know, you mentioned the standard, you mentioned like the cliche of guys wanting to step up and do the right thing. And a lot of times when you have a new coach, there's kind of like this somewhat disingenuous buy-in, especially with a coach like this that, you know, you want to do the right thing, but eventually you're going to kind of fall back into old habits. There was a guy here who got paid a lot of money to be the 2C on the team, who certainly was not that. He's gone. There are other guys who were on the roster last year or who have maybe had a hard time breaking through because they haven't exactly embodied that spirit, Morgan Frost. But then you have guys who last year bought in, built some equity, got some money in the bank, and like an Owen Tippett who has remained in the lineup even though there have been times that he struggled a bit. And then you look at a guy like Bobby Brink who leads the entire NHL in points among rookies with 8.
He's tied.
It's still a lead. It's still a lead. And you have guys like that who don't have money in the bank with the coach, but he he built and he made an impression in camp. He made an impression in the preseason, and he was rewarded with meaningful playing time to start the season. And while there have been a couple of stretches and a couple of games where you say, like, all right, he wasn't as impactful, for the most part, he's looked everything like a young, veteran-ish player.
Listen to what he says about Tyson Forrester, a guy whose bread and butter is his shot. Doesn't have a goal yet. He's never had a lack of playing time. He's never come out of the lineup. Why? Because he knows he has to do the work, and he's doing all the other things that help produce offense, that help produce good plays. He's winning battles along the boards. He's moving the puck well. He's positioning himself well defensively. All things that, to your point, put money in the bank with this coach and earn you extra ice time, you stay in the lineup. Listen, they could very easily send him down to Lehigh Valley if they think that level of play slips. And in their mind, it hasn't slipped because he's put in the work, because he's put in the effort. He's shown that he's more than just a guy, set him up in the Ovechkin office on power plays and just let him gong away on one-timers. He's done other things, and the expectation is all those other things that he's doing will eventually pay off with, to your point, Bobby Brink leading or tying for the lead among NHL rookies in points. You have to think Forrester at some point is going to look more like the guy 7 points in 8 games last season when he came up from Lehigh Valley and looked like he was a legit NHL player a season ago. You have to think eventually he's going to have that commensurate level of offensive ability, offensive output coming up here very soon.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, too. I mean, because Couturier was out of the lineup, they reunited that PhD fourth line. Morgan Frost is back in the lineup. Question, I guess, is going to continue to remain. When Couturier comes back, somebody's going to have to come out. They really seem to love that fourth line. It buzzes. It sets the example. It, we'll be cliche here. It kind of sets the standard of what Torts is looking for from a fourth line. From where I stand, albeit much shorter than everyone else up here, I have a hard time seeing them break up that fourth line again. It does feel like when Couturier comes back in the lineup, you're going to either see Forster come out if he doesn't make an impact, or, boy, do you start to go back to that well of, does Morgan Frost sit again? He hasn't exactly been impactful since rejoining the lineup. He's had some moments. He's had flashes. He's had the ability where he's set up some nice plays. But there's nothing on the score sheet. Do you see a scenario where Couturier comes back and Frost goes out, or do you think Torts is going to try to roll with him here for a few more games?
I think you have to give Morgan Frost an opportunity to show what he can be. The rope is long, but I think it's getting near its end with what kind of an NHL player Morgan Frost can be. When I watch him, I see the skilled plays, I see the ability and the vision, but I don't see it consistently enough. And I think some of it is a physical strength issue, where he's not really strong enough to be on the puck to make the plays on a consistent level that he needs to make to be an impactful NHL player. Look, he is not a bottom six forward with his brain for the game and his skill set. He is a top six forward, but he's got to produce like a top six forward, and it can't be, well, he's making nice plays. That doesn't quite cut it. That can cut it for a rookie, for a 19-year-old like Tyson Forrester, who's just adjusting to the NHL. Morgan Frost has been up long enough to know that I need to be a little bit more. I need to deliver a little bit more. I need to make more of an impact on the score sheet, whether it's scoring goals, assisting goals, helping facilitate the power play. And he does it, but I don't know if he does it consistent enough. And it's a nice question to have for a coach, and Tortorella has expressed that they have that kind of depth where they really have to say, well, we've got 10 top 9 forwards. If you take those 3 guys on the fourth line out of it, we've got 10 top 9 forwards. Who has to come out? That, to your point, he has shown a lot of reluctance to break up that fourth line. Yeah. He did it the other night. He took Paling out and he put Scott Lawton in the middle there. Is that a direction they go moving forward? I don't know. I don't think the coach sort of wants that, because they really count on Paling as a penalty killer. Yeah. They like the energy he brings in that area. But I don't know where it all goes with Morgan Frost. They have some outs. Forrester can go back to Lehigh Valley if they want to, do something there. But it's going to be a very interesting decision coming up here.
Another interesting thing is tonight against the Kings. Kings off to a pretty good start themselves. And they're a unique team in the sense that they got a lot of talent up front, and they seem to be going with the Vegas method of just like the alternate the goalies and see which one kind of sticks out. But one of the goalies that they didn't have is Cal Peterson, who's now here with the Flyers.
Wow.
That guy gets called up with Carter Hart getting hurt, and his first start, lo and behold, comes against his former team.
Well, that should provide a nice little motivation for Cal Peterson, who, he struggled last season. Let's be honest. The numbers speak for themselves. He signed the contract after 2 years ago, playing really well. He gets a nice contract. They realize in LA that it wasn't working there. So he goes to the Ontario and the American League. Still got that big contract. They want to do other things. They need to move some money. The Flyers have the cap space and the need, frankly, for another NHL caliber, NHL experienced goaltender. So Cal Peterson comes over along with Sean Walker in the Ivan Provorov trade. Well, now he's going to get his first start of the season in the NHL against his former team. There's a good goaltender in there. We talked to Sean Walker before the game tonight, and he said, look, I know what this guy can be when he's at his best. And when he's at his best, he's pretty good. And a couple seasons ago, he was a very good NHL goalie. Now it's incumbent upon him. He's got a wonderful opportunity here. And it seems like with Felix Sandstrom going on injured reserve today, it seems like, since we don't know how long Carter Hart's going to be out for, he's going to get a real legitimate opportunity here with Sam Ersson to sort of split some time. Flyers going to have a busy schedule coming up here in November. If he wants to establish himself as an NHL goalie again, there's not just people in Philadelphia here watching. There's 31 other teams that are watching, and at a certain point, teams are going to have injuries. Teams are going to say, hey, goalie market's looking a little thin. They've got Carter Hart eventually back healthy in Philadelphia. They've got Sam Ersson. Cal Peterson, that cap number is going to come down as the season goes along. He's got a chance to showcase himself
Cal
here.
Peterson trade asset. What a bold prediction here. Now,
well, look, it just, you do the math and you look at their depth chart and you can see where, there's that could be a path they go down.
Yeah, I mean, they have 80 goalies now in the organization is what it feels like.
Can never have enough.
They acquired, 6 in the offseason?
Russ, I covered a team that started 9 in one season.
That's true.
9.
Yeah.
9 goalies.
I remember that season.
Yes.
It was an ugly season.
Yes.
To give people an update on how Peterson's done down in the A this season. 1-3, 3.76 goals against, 884 save percentage. Not world beater numbers, not something that's going to instill a ton of confidence. However, it's his first start tonight at the NHL level. He knows if there's anybody who's going to know the tendencies of the team they're about to face, it's going to be him. Will this end up being fool's gold? We don't know. Will it go well? Who knows? Goalies are, the hardest position to try to project.
Look, I covered a team that in 2009-10 had Michael Leighton and Brian Boucher. No offense to Boucher down the other end of the balcony here, but that team made the Stanley Cup final.
Yep.
So, to your point, lightning in a bottle. Listen, it happened for LA last season with Phoenix Copley, who was fantastic. Was a big reason that Cal Peterson ended up spending most of last season in the American League. Well, now here we are. Maybe Cal Peterson is able to recover his game, regain his game, go on a heater here. Listen, you can never have enough good goalies in your organization.
There was actually a third goalie on that 09-10 team.
Ray Emery.
Ray Emery was part of it.
And Ray Emery ended up actually led that team in wins during the regular season, which, again, how that team made the Stanley Cup final,
we'll never know.
It's a wonderful story. But
speaking of revenge games for goalies, Cam Talbot's in goal for the Kings tonight, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's got his 4th straight start, right?
Yeah. They are going to. Todd McClellan was at the Kings practice at Flyers Training Center yesterday, and Todd McClellan was asked, what are you going to do here with your goaltenders? The way the Kings schedule breaks down, they've got a chance to really lean on a guy. And McClellan was like, look, he's played well enough that we've got a couple games in a row and then a chunk of days off, and a couple games in a row and a chunk of days off, that, we can really lean on Cam here and probably give him the majority of the starts. It doesn't help that when Phoenix Copley has played, he hasn't played well. But they're going to lean on Cam Talbot, who was a Flyer for about 10 minutes, it seemed like a few years ago. And there was a time where I thought he was going to stay with the Flyers.
So did I.
Because he and Carter Hart are very close friends.
Yeah.
They are from the same area in Western Canada. They have the same goalie coach. I thought it seemed like it would work out here, but I think Cam wanted the opportunity to be a starter.
Yep.
I think he went to Edmonton at that point.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work out for him there the way, obviously, he or the Oilers would have liked. Otherwise, he'd still be in Edmonton. But, again, he is a very streaky goaltender. He's had stretches, I remember back in New York, where he was excellent, and that's, the kind of goalie he's going to be. He can be very, very good or very, very shaky. And so far, he's been very, very good for the Kings, who are 5-0 on the road to start the season. So they are off to a very good start.
Hold on one second.
Go ahead.
You're watching out there. We know you're watching out there. There's 100 whatever of you out there right now on YouTube. There are more on Facebook. There are a lot more on Twitter. Do us a favor. Stop what you're doing. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button. Hit the thumbs up. It helps. You can comment. We'll bring your comments up on the screen. You can chastise Anthony for being late because he was eating tagliatelle. Or not. If you're on Facebook, give it a like as well. Share this. Share the show with other Flyers fans in your life. And what's the old adage? Tell two people, they'll tell two people, they'll tell two people about the Press Row Show. Again, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show, the side of the Mississippi. That's what they say. All right, go ahead.
Russ, you drive me crazy with this promotional stuff.
You have to do it, Anthony.
You really do.
If you don't promote it, who's gonna do it? Go ahead.
I guess one last thing I wanted to kind of ask you, Adam, and this goes back to the Flyers, but I'm glad you brought up the Edmonton Oilers, who've gotten off to a terrible start.
Yes.
And you look at a team like Edmonton that has the top-end talent, and they got off to, they're 2-6-1. They looked terrible against the Flyers when they played here. And the Flyers don't have that top-end talent, and yet they're playing at a level far beyond what Edmonton is playing. It's almost like the roles have been reversed. Granted, 10, 11 games, we're not talking about a full season, but this is a good chunk of games over the course of 82. Is that an example of what you were talking about with your very first answer of the coaching and the players playing like the coach? Because if you think about it, that's hard work is beating talent with this Flyers team.
Well, let me start by saying this. I don't think the fault of the Edmonton Oilers falls necessarily completely on Jay Woodcroft and his staff. I think Jay Woodcroft's a very good coach. I think there is a commitment to work and a commitment to work in the defensive zone that is severely lacking in Edmonton. They don't have the depth on the back end. Their defense core is not well assembled. Darnell Nurse is a $9 million a year player. He is not playing like a $9 million a year player. They sent Philip Broberg down to Bakersfield, the American League. He is the future there on defense. He was a top 10, top 5 pick for them a few years ago. He's a guy who skates exceptionally well, has a top-end offensive game, needs to be a little better on the defensive end. But with the veteran guys that are there, they should be better defensively. And I've read that they are trying to play a different style of defense. They think it's a little bit more conducive to their talent. It certainly hasn't looked that way to this point. But your goalies also need to help out. And Stuart Skinner and Jack Campbell have not necessarily been all that good this season. And it all kind of leads to they're chasing games way too much. They have that top-end talent, but how much of it do they really have? McDavid and Draisaitl will obviously get all the headlines, but beyond that, Evander Kane is a nice player. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is a nice player who had a fantastic season, but it took him 12 years to hit that level. So I don't think he's a guy that you can really heap all this offensive glory on because he had one 100-point season playing on the best power play in the history of the game since the league started tracking that stat. So yes, they have 2 of the 5 best players in the world, but the depth up front, I don't know if they go as deep as people like to say they do, but McDavid and Draisaitl are just that good. But everywhere else, there's a real lack of depth, a real lack of skill, a real lack of talent.
Well, does that? I guess getting back to where I was going with this is, does that speak to the depth of what the Flyers have, in the sense that, all right, maybe they're not top line players, but you have a bunch of guys who are certainly NHL caliber who can play further down your lineup and play really well.
I think what the Flyers are more interchangeable pieces. Like, you could take those top 9 forwards, sort of throw the names in a hat for the most part, pull guys out at random, and those lines would click. I don't think there's any doubt that Couturier could play with Atkinson and Tippett, but he could also play with Konechny. He could also play, if you wanted to move Morgan Frost to the wing, he could play with Frost. I think there are a lot more interchangeable pieces there, whereas with a team like Edmonton, I don't know if you could drag they have Warren Fogle playing on the top line. Warren Fogle's a nice player, but I don't think Warren Fogle would be in the top 9 for the Philadelphia Flyers. So I think there's, yes, they have these 2 transcendent players, but I don't know if the rest of their lineup is as strong. 1 and 2 is light years ahead of what the Flyers have.
Sure.
But 3 through 9 versus the Flyers 3 through 9, it's a toss-up.
Right? Exactly.
So
exactly.
Hey, before we let you go, I need to know what you think of the chrome domes that the Kings are going to be wearing tonight. I mean, I turned around once, and I'm pretty sure I just have a tear in my retina now from the light. It's bright.
They should come with one of those. They put them on lamps. Do not stare directly into this helmet without proper eye protection. Yeah. They're a choice. And look, look. I think what it comes down to is this, and I've realized having 2 teenagers is that they're not for me. It's for them, and they like them. So who am I to complain?
Adam Kimmelman, read him on NHL.com. How can they follow you on social media?
I am on all social medias at NHL Adam K, Twitter /X, Threads, Facebook, Instagram, whatever they all have.
He's one of the best. He's been doing this for a long, long time. I've sat next to him for many, many years. Thanks for coming on, and we'll get you back again.
I'll be the first choice this time?
You'll be the first choice this time.
That's right.
Next time, yes.
Adam Kimmelman, ladies and gentlemen.
You won your audition. You did really good.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to the comments, the questions, comments, and concerns here. While I start to point at intern Andrew to bring us a little bit tighter here.
Yeah, you got to zoom in the camera, intern Andrew.
Oh my gosh, it's a Mickey Mouse operation. That's really what this is,
Yeah.
You get an intern, you have a nice setup, and yet here we are. Anyway, you can just leave it like that. Just don't even bother.
Perfect.
Just don't even bother. That's fine.
That's good.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine. All right, so we have. There's somebody. Matthew Bennick says in 240p, Kimmelman looks like Russell Crowe. Are you not entertained? There are a lot of things going on. If you're on YouTube right now and you're keeping up with the comments, you'll notice that there was an argument happening about the Kate Smith statue. It's been a while. Been a while since that's kind of broken out in the comments.
I actually was talking to someone about the Kate Smith statue.
Uh-oh.
And the person said to me that although everyone has been told it's been put in a warehouse, he's skeptical that that's the case.
Ruh-roh.
He's skeptical that that's the case.
Where could it be? Is this going to be like the Jimmy Hoffa thing?
I think it could be the Jimmy Hoffa.
They got it, they started laying a nice little concrete foundation. They put it in.
Yeah.
There was that esports arena they were supposed to build.
Which they're still talking about.
Maybe it's the footers. Yeah, you know what? Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if that's like betraying somebody's information that told us it, but that there was the esports arena that they were supposed to build. I think it was supposed to be at 4,000 seats, 5,000 seats. And we talked to somebody a few months ago who said that in anticipation of the World Cup coming up in 2026, that they might look to actually build a smaller venue over there for more intimate concerts.
Yes.
And for like concerts that might not totally fill out Wells Fargo Center, but are certainly like bigger than what most of the other concert hall venues in the general area are, which would be kind of nice. Like, give me the band that you listen to, alive or dead, and let's be honest, probably dead, that you would have liked to have seen at like a 4,000, 5,000 seat venue that wouldn't fill this place out. But
I've seen them in a 4,000, 5,000 seat venue and really enjoyed it in a smaller venue as opposed to when I saw them at the Wells Fargo Center, and it was not a sold out show, and I felt like it lacked the energy that their shows usually have.
Yeah.
Bare Naked Ladies.
Really? They didn't fill this place out?
They did not. It was probably about 14,000, I would say. But then I saw them at the Tower Theater, which is much smaller and more intimate, and was one of the best concerts I've ever seen them do.
How about that?
So there you go.
I like it.
And they're still alive, just so you know.
By the way, so there's a comment that intern Andrew brought up. So Bill Meltzer, who we love Bill. Bill has been in the midst of many battles on many fronts on Twitter in recent days, defending Morgan Frost. Now, we love Bill, and we understand why Bill likes Morgan Frost as much as he does. Sometimes you plant your flag in the ground for a player.
You know, Bill just walked by.
He did. He's a great guy.
Literally just walked by.
Top notch.
And I was tempted to have him come over and deal with our buddy, I forget which one it is, who got banned.
Somebody got banned?
Or not banned, but blocked. Got blocked by Meltzer. Meltzer blocked one of our guys.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, blocked him. It's a shame. You hate to see it. The only blocking that should be done in this building is by Joel Embiid, which they did today. So the Sixers got the win in the first half of the doubleheader, which now leads us to, briefly, our predictions for tonight's game. I know that we're 9 minutes or so away from them starting the national anthem. Bundy has sent his.
I think it's closer than that.
Bundy has sent his prediction in 4-3 Kings.
Yes.
You picked. I saw your text, but you got it.
I also picked the Kings. I picked them 5-3.
Yep.
And the only reason I did that is because I'm not confident in Cal Peterson tonight.
You know,
Otherwise, I would have picked the Flyers. But the Kings have a really good offense, and I'm just not certain. You know, you heard Torts talk about the way this team's playing this year.
Yeah.
They're taking a few more chances, and he said at the last post-game press conference, sometimes you need your goalies to just make some saves.
yeah.
And so when you hear that, it makes me think they're going to be relying on Cal Peterson to make some stops, and I'm not convinced that he's going to get them against a team that knows him all too well.
The thing is, the variance in this game is about as insane as it could be because he's playing against his former team. So we
It could be
mentioned,
either way,
we mentioned
right?
before,
Yeah.
that's like he had an 884 save percentage, 3.75 goals against for the Phantoms this year. There is a scenario here where Cal Peterson allows 1 goal, and the Flyers win like a 3-1 game. There is a more likely outcome that Cal Peterson looks like the guy that he's looked like for the last couple of years, which is a guy who gets shellacked. And I want to be very careful here, but I'm going to follow suit on picking the Kings, but I'm going to take the Kings to win 6-4.
That was the other score I thought about.
And well, sure it was.
I'm serious, it was.
And the reason I'm going 6-4 is I don't think he's going to get pulled, but I do think that there are going to be a few ugly goals, and I can absolutely see an empty netter going against the Flyers to get them that 6th goal. The Flyers have done enough in recent games to put the puck in the back of the net that I think they'll be able to do it. You look at a Cam Atkinson who's been able to continue to find it. Obviously, Travis Konechny's been on fire. Belpedio had a goal last night. I don't think he'll do it tonight.
No.
Do we see a wicked wrista from Travis Sanheim? Who knows? Who's to say? 6-4 feels right.
It was literally the other score I was debating. I
Yeah.
said between 5-3 and 6-4, and I ended up going with 5-3.
Well,
By the way,
you were leading by 2 points. You had a 2-point lead over me, a
nothing's changed.
1 point lead over Bundy.
Because we all got it wrong.
We all got it
yesterday.
wrong yesterday,
Yeah.
very badly.
Yes.
Sad.
So the score is still, I have 8, and you each have 6.
All right, so go ahead. What were you going to get to? What?
Co-host Nancy made a
Yeah.
comment earlier,
Yeah.
and intern Andrew put it up on the screen.
Yeah, what was
it? Was
it?
way long ago. And I thought it was a great comment. She was talking about Bobby Brink. So I don't know if we can if we can find it.
Yeah.
Because somebody else was asking for.
Bud Stewart asked for Nancy's prediction.
Yeah, it was
the
asking for
unofficial
Nancy's
fourth host of the show.
Yeah, and so
She already has a higher Q score than I do.
there we go.
Which is great.
You want to read what your wife put up?
No, I'd rather not. What is it? Does Bobby Brink know he's basically Philly's sweet baby dumpling, and we need him to score? I think is what that's supposed to say.
Yeah. Does she call you the sweet baby dumpling at home?
I sure hope not. That's weird. I don't want her to call. I'm her husband. I don't want her to call me the sweet baby.
You're my
dumpling.
sweet baby dumpling. That's like a term of endearment, Russell.
No, I don't like that.
Russell.
I'd call my kids a sweet baby dumpling. Not my spouse.
How about Larry thinking I look 10 years younger?
Yeah, nobody cares. Do you think it's appropriate to call your spouse a sweet baby dumpling? 610-632 when we come back. Mike Mizzano. No. All right.
We better wrap this up because they're about to do the anthem here in a minute.
Yeah. Listen, that's not going to happen. By the way, we do have some new merch going up on the Snow the Goalie store. Shop.snowthegoalie.com soon. You saw there's currently a design in process. The Good, the Bad, and the Bundy. We have an Oh Yes shirt we're working on. Believe it or not, fourth co-host Nancy has worked on a design for You're Not Wrong. So that could be coming as well.
Really?
That could be coming as
I
well.
love Nancy.
The entire SanFilippo clan. They're going to buy one.
I love Nancy.
By the way, if you didn't watch the morning after or listen to the morning after in the podcast feed, we did that to recap last night's game. So if you're annoyed today while you're watching the first period of this game or you just don't want to listen to it, you can go back and it's in the podcast feed and on YouTube. You can check out the 5-1 recap of the win over the Sabres. We did that early this morning, a live show here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And as we said before, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, please let a couple of other Flyers fans in your life know about the show. We are grateful to have you here. We love all the people who, drop their comments below. Is there a Russell Jr.? There are 4 kids. None of them are named after me. So, no, there's not a junior. So, there you go. A shirt with a dumpling and Russ's face on it. I'd rather not. I'll tell you what, though. If people bought it, I would absolutely sell my likeness as a dumpling.
Jen, would you buy it? Would you buy that shirt? If so,
we're not doing it for one sale.
You just said if someone would buy it.
No, I mean like if lots of people would buy it. You have to turn a nice profit. By the way, we have a live show coming up. We cannot announce the details of it yet, but it will be, we think. Are we safe to say that?
We can't say it.
Okay.
Yet. No.
We're working on a live show. We have a few different ideas.
Because there were 2 different dates that were being discussed.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a few different structures of live shows that we want to do, but a few years ago we did something called the Press Road Show. And the Press Road Show was essentially what we do here for the Press Row, but we do it for a road game. And we did it at a brewery that sponsored us at the time. Mm-hmm. You no-showed because you were sick or something, so Kevin Kincaid showed up.
I did something there. We did something at that brewery.
Maybe we did. I don't know.
But then the second one I did not do because that's when I was sick.
And then they stiffed us like $1,000. It was fine. No big deal. Yeah. That's when Russ gave up hope on, mom and pop shops as sponsors. But if you're watching out there and you're not going to try to stiff the Only Flyers podcast, then by all means, get in touch. All right. There's a question about bedtime stories with Bundy. I can tell you that we have already figured out 2 stories that Bundy's going to read. We might be doing something with a special tier of viewers and listeners to get access to the Bundy bedtime stories. It will absolutely be worth your time.
Did you remember to bring the book today?
No. Was I supposed to?
Yeah, you were.
You got to text me. My head's not in all the...
we'll remind. We'll get it to him. That's all right.
So, anyway,
all right,
I think it's... and by the way, the question here was with live with an audience. Yes, the idea is that when we do the live show, the Press Road Show, it'll be at a place. There may be food, there may be beverages, there may be both. You come on out, you have a good time, we watch the game. Bundy gets to Bundy bomb all he wants. Honestly, it's a great setup.
Yep.
All right, we had a lot of people checking in, by the way. We had some people checking in from Europe again and out west and the Midwest and the East Coast. As we know, this is not only the Only Flyers podcast, but it also happens to be the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show. There was somebody who sent me another show that is done in another market with another hockey team. And they said, did you know that this show exists? And I said, no, but I know for a fact that we are #1 ahead of them. And that really is what matters because, again, as the people say, we're the #1 rated show. And that's all that matters out there. So we will be back for the first intermission. We'll be back for second intermission and postgame. Bundy will be here. And as we did a few games ago, if the Flyers win, Anthony will be down in the locker room with a Flyers player doing an interview. If the Flyers lose by a significant margin, which we all kind of predict they will, then we'll send intern Andrew down to get the Tortorella press conference. Bundy and I will do post-game, and it'll be a lot of fun. So make sure you check back in for both intermissions and post-game. And in the meantime, during the game, we'll have Game Center pulled up on the stream, keeping track of all the stats in the game. So if you can't be by a TV, you want to keep up with something, maybe you're at a wedding tonight, and you have a spouse who doesn't want you to watch the game on your phone. You won't be watching the game. You'll be watching the Stats Center. So you can keep up with the score and you can keep up with everything that's going on. Because we care that much. That's how much we care about you and your ability to keep up with the game wherever you are. So, for Ant, I'm Russ. We'll see you during the first intermission with Bundy. Let's see how the Flyers do. What's your prediction about the score at the end of one?
2-1 LA.
3-2. Cal Peterson standing on his head tonight. Or not. Anyway, time to roll out. Cover your ears. Technology time. welcome into the Press Row Show, the number one Press Row Show, the number one pregame, intermission, and postgame show. The Flyers are losing 2-0. We all picked the Kings to win. Is it going to happen? Remains to be seen. But let's be honest, the guy who everybody wanted to hear from isn't me. It's not Anthony. It's the man all the way on the end, and that's Bundy. Find him on Twitter at Therien6. How are you doing, you absolute beaut? You look like a stud this evening.
I am doing great, sweet baby dumpling.
I'm out.
He called
Great
me.
to be here, boys.
He called me a sweet baby dumpling. I love that. Thank you, Bundy. I was just saying, I'm admiring your coiffed hair, and now I'm a dumpling. Thank you.
All right, so welcome into the Press Row Show. First intermission. We've already gone off the rails, and so did the Flyers in that period. It was an interesting start, and then there was about 75 seconds or so of actual game time where the Flyers gave up 2 goals. The first one, we were having a debate up here until we saw like the 6th angle that almost looked like Cam York was the one who put the puck in the back of the net. And then LA goes out, like I said, about a minute of game time later and gets their second. Bundy, we were talking about this before the game. You get a guy like Cal Peterson, his first start of the year at the NHL levels against his former team, and you think either it's going to go really well because he knows all the intricacies and the nuances of the other team, or he plays like Cal Peterson has played for 2 years and he's going to give up some goals.
I mean, there's a lot. Everybody is looking for some form of goaltender in a backup role. I mean, and again, like everybody, I feel like dreads putting their backup in to some degree. Was it all about Cal Peterson that period? Not really. I mean, I don't really want to say it was completely about Cal Peterson, but there was the first goal. I don't really blame him. He got his stick lifted as he went to the front of the. It was York. Got his stick lifted, shot in quick. That's that's victimizing a young guy going for it. The second one is a tip through a maze of bodies by Kopitar, who's made a career of that. I don't blame it all on him. The Flyers had a couple chances, breakaway with Atkinson, but again, getting down early forces this team to play the kind of game they're not accustomed to playing, and now they got to play catch-up. And what happens with catch-up? You expose yourself to more opportunities.
And I felt like they were fine defensively in the first period. I didn't think it was a bad defensive first period. You could sit there and talk about those 2 plays. What happens? It was actually, if you start it back, the first goal was a turnover by Owen Tippett. Ends up being a neutral zone turnover, but really he was along the wall. All he had to do was skate it out, Bundy, and he was trying to make a pass up from his own end. Probably maybe 10 feet from the blue line, and it's out into the neutral zone. It gets picked off, and then the Kings are coming back with speed, actually, right? And that kind of creates that opportunity for them. So I know Torts probably isn't going to be happy with that play, but what I was a little bit more disappointed with is that they had when they had possession, they really didn't get great opportunities. That was what I was really disappointed with watching them in the first period, other than the Atkinson breakaway, right? But when they had the puck in the offensive end as a full 5-man unit, I really felt like it was lacking. And then of course they had the one power play that was absolutely awful. So to me, that's where the game's switched.
The power play, it's not going to win you the game in the first period, but also you don't want to kill 2 minutes of power play time where nothing happens. A good power play sometimes is just about getting shots and then using the momentum for the next shot. But they're not doing much of anything right now. Their better chances came on a penalty kill than it did on their own power play.
How demoralizing is that for a team, especially they're 11 games into the year? The power play has looked atrocious. I mean, Bundy, you and I sat up here during Torts' last press conference a couple nights ago, and Torts essentially said the same thing that we've been saying every pregame, intermission, and postgame on the Press Row Show and the morning after, that the power play just needs to simplify. They've got to put pucks on net. They have to stop worrying about looking for the perfect pass. They have to stop worrying about being unselfish. You have to actually shoot the puck to score goals on the power play. They just, for whatever reason, look totally out of sorts.
Well,
they look better at even strength, and even to your point, on the PK.
So they're looking for a top power play,
Yeah.
but they don't have top power play personnel. So instead of trying to do things that they're not capable of doing, because believe me, when you have a skilled guy or 2 skilled guys, the difference between those 2 guys and 2 other guys trying to make a play, that's why they'll probably end up making $3 or $4 million more than the next pair of guys that are trying to make those same power play plays. So when you got a group like this, we talked about it. Torch said it the other night after the loss to Buffalo. Just get the pucks to the point, shoot, and initiate traffic to the blue paint. That's how this team's going to have success. But for some reason, they refuse to do it on a repeatedly.
Rob Greeley makes a good comment about Owen Tippett, and I mentioned the fact that he makes the turnover ultimately that leads to the first goal.
Good point.
But he's forcing passes, and what's with the blind spinorama? We saw that the last home game against Buffalo, where he makes a great play and then he made a blind pass that led to a rush. Turned out it didn't hurt the Flyers in that game. I almost did it again, Russ. It turned out it didn't hurt the Flyers in that game. But then tonight, again, also didn't hurt them in this one, but he's just making passes where he's not looking. And that, to me, I think that's something you can maybe get away with at a lower level, but you can't get away with it at this level.
You especially putting blind passes into the middle. We watched one a couple nights ago. He's done it again here tonight. When you don't have a play as a winger like that, a shooting winger, chip the puck. It's going to sound awful, but it's what works. Chip the puck in the corner, go after it, hold it, wait for it to make a good play, and wait for help. Yeah. He's a big enough body to do that. I know it sounds stupid, like, well, that's not a skill play. It is, but it's winning hockey. Yeah. And nobody sees it on winning teams because it gets done all the time, and they make a habit of doing it every night. And what happens when you do that, you wear other teams down, and you signal to the other team, too, that you're willing to compete and battle for your space and for the puck.
I will say that there are two elements to this that I think are especially disappointing for the people in the building, right? One, this is arguably the biggest crowd of the year.
Great crowd.
And the nice thing is, we always say, like, you look at which seats are filled to get a better feel for how the fan base as a whole feels about the team. The upper levels the second deck is quite full.
Yep.
The assembly row and everything up where we are is quite full. The lower level is probably, 65, 70% full.
75, 80.
There's some sections where you see less people, but it's an actually nice crowd for a Saturday night game. I have to say the thing that I think is disappointing is, I don't know, I actually do want to know, when you play for a team at this level, I can't imagine that every special event night is something that you care about or you get up for. But I would think Military Appreciation Night is one that maybe it resonates with some of the guys in the locker room that have had people who have served in military. And they kind of came out flatter than I would expect on a night like tonight. And I know that there's no way to measure that, but that to me is a little bit disappointing too.
The Flyers, I'll say quick, have a great connection with the Warriors.
Yeah.
So the military's always been special to a lot of players, and I don't think that had anything to do with the slow start, but certainly is a great relationship amongst the players in the military.
Yeah. And did you have something you wanted to?
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say Russ is, you're searching for something a little bit there, but I get your point. I get what your point is, in the sense that
I expected them to come out a little bit stronger tonight.
Your point, I guess, is this, at least what it should be.
Yeah.
Is it should be that you get a sense when you come out for warm-ups, right, that there's a good crowd out there and they're a little bit energized, right, and the night is kind of a cool experience, and they brought out those veterans on the ice before the game, and the crowd was into it, and you heard everybody kind of singing the national anthem, and so you think in a night like that you have a little bit of juice. We talk about all the time how fans can help a team. We talk about it so many times with the Phillies, how much Red October, right, and all that meant. So you could give them that little bit of a boost to start a game, and they just didn't seem to take advantage of it. And I think that's probably more
that's what I mean.
Along of what you're trying to say. And in that regard, I tend to agree with you.
To me, it almost feels like, at least pregame, it kind of felt a little bit playoff atmosphere-ish. About as much as you're going to get from a regular season game.
A lot of buzz outside the building before it came in. People walking, people tailgating. Those are things that people have done in the past here. The Sixers played today. Maybe people double dipped. Maybe hung around, have a little lunch or dinner after the Sixers. Come on into the Flyers game. It's a beautiful day out.
Yeah.
It's a perfect day to come down to the sports complex. But listen, again, effort, determination go a long way. People also see good things happening with the team, even though that they're 5-5. But I think at the same time, They're persevering, and people want to see effort.
Yeah.
They want to see something that's been exciting. Last night was a good game against Buffalo. Certainly a lot of reason to show up here tonight and see if they can continue that. They have not in the first period. They need to pick it up.
I want to ask you something that we talked about very briefly while the game was going on, because we didn't get your feedback to this pregame. The Kings are out here wearing chrome domes on their heads. And I want you to look into the camera, and I want you to let the people at home know what you think of the Kings wearing these chrome-looking silver helmets. They're very shiny.
They look like a silver C-3PO.
They're terrible.
They're the worst helmet I've ever seen.
They're
And there's been
terrible.
some bad ones in the history of sports. These things look like those bells you hang on a Christmas tree.
Look, I'm going to be honest with you. So my daughter is here with her boyfriend, who's from the L.A. area. He's from outside of L.A. And he's here in his Kings jersey. He's all excited to watch his team. Even he said they're terrible. And this is a guy who's in his 20s, right? So, Adam Kimmelman pregame was saying that, it's for the younger, fan. It's the younger crowd. It's a younger fan who's a fan of the Kings who hates them. They're terrible. I don't know
like them?
who thought that this was a good idea for the sport.
I'm going to be honest with you. Now, listen, I know we're looking above them. I can't believe they were approved.
Yeah, because of the glare,
I mean,
the glare and everything. I
They
agree.
are brutal looking
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. And I know Vegas has one too that's similar, right? Those what they call the golden chrome domes. which one is this?
This one here. It's like Candyman.
Boy, Brian is really on
Brian's very
fire.
upset.
Frost,
Bill Meltzer
Frost.
blocked him, and Brian he's in his feelings. Brian, we will try to get in touch with Bill Meltzer about unblocking you, but I can tell you, you're going to probably have to write a 3-page apology and cite all of the great things that Morgan Frost has done in his career.
Angry, very angry at Bill right now.
Very angry.
He says 3 times a year. Bill Meltzer.
He's upset. He's upset.
That's funny.
but
I
look,
cannot
we have-
laugh at that.
But here we have
freaking hysterical.
this. Looks like characters from the movie Tron.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
that's a great
it.
reference.
Chris
That's
S.
perfect.
Chris S. says RoboCop.
RoboCop too, but Tron
No,
was
Tron.
is as great a reference. I wish
Yeah.
I would have thought of that.
They're going to
That's how
come
good of a
throw
reference
discs
that
at
was.
each other this
Eric,
year.
Yes.
Eric Berkey wants to see the Flyers do orange.
No, Eric. No, we don't.
Can't, like, somebody actually had that idea that LA was going to do that, and I'm like, somebody made a comment on Twitter. So they said, like, it would have been maybe okay with full jet black uniforms. It still would have been ugly, but at least it would have looked a little different.
I would have liked if they did black helmets that were like black chrome. If they're going to do the shiny thing, I think black with that would look pretty interesting. Like, that'd be kind of cool. But nah, this ain't it. Or purple.
There's another one.
Purple.
Len's got a good one too. Battlestar Galactica. They look like the Cylons.
Yeah. I do remember.
Right?
That. Russ
Remember,
has no idea what
Russ
that
has
is.
no clue. Yeah, that's from our era.
I know what Battlestar Galactica.
No, you don't. You don't know the original
Bears
one because it came out in the
beats
70s.
Battlestar Galactica.
Could be R2-D2.
Do you know who Twiki is?
Who?
Twiki.
Who?
Okay, exactly. Doesn't know Rambo.
Is he a Wookiee?
Doesn't know. No, Twiki was not a Wookiee. That would be that's a tongue twister, right?
I was just letting you go.
No, it's okay.
Sean C. says, didn't the NHL ban Ovechkin's mirror visor years ago because of Brodeur complaining? If that's the case...
That would have been 15 years ago.
Yeah. I do have to imagine that it is hard to play with all the glare that comes off of those helmets. Now, you can make the argument that it works both ways, right? Because the Kings players have to do the same thing. Now, you can also have the counterpoint that they can practice with them and get used to, I guess, the glare and sight. I do think it's an unfair advantage to have if you're the Kings. But unless, I guess, you're at ice level. I'd actually be interested to know, because we did have a few people say pregame that they're in the building, sitting in the lower level. I'd love to hear. I think Hunter Mikos, one of our loyal listeners and watchers, viewers, was one of the people who said they're in the lower level. I'd love to know from your vantage point down in the lower level of the arena, is it distracting, and are you catching glare more so than you'd usually get from a normal helmet? We have a lot of people now checking in with their stuff. Oh, there we go. The fourth host says, giving Prussian cavalry officer vibes. She sent me a picture of them. They're gold and they have a spike on top, but yeah, she's not wrong.
Nancy, I think you might be the only person who has that reference. I think the rest of us are all sitting here going, huh?
Yeah. You know how there's that thing going viral
And you
about
know,
how
and
every
she knows
man,
I love her, right?
You know the one about how like every man likes the Roman Empire or whatever? That was like a thing in the last couple of weeks. She's like the World War II buff. She's like listened to 1 million audiobooks about World War II. No reason. Just like it's become her jam.
Yeah, what was that whole Roman Empire thing?
I don't know. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
My daughter called me and asked me if I was thinking about the Roman Empire. I was like,
Here
what?
you go. Whoa, hold on a second. Do we have Discord and the Flyers Broadcast Network? Mertitas called Bill, Morgan Frost's agent, on the broadcaster roundtable after Coatsy said, "Tell Bill I said something nice about Frost." Well, there you go. I don't know. We might have to talk. Are we gonna have
still does that?
Are we gonna have to put Mertitas and Bill Meltzer in the octagon?
What does a version of retirement mean in 2023?
For Coatsy? Yeah.
I don't know for anybody.
Yeah.
That's funny, Jay.
That is funny.
That is funny there. But I'll tell you what's even funnier, and I don't know if anybody's seen it yet, but did anybody watch Saturday Night Live last Saturday?
I heard about it. It was someone sent me the beginning open. Who was on it?
It was Nate Bargatze.
Nate Bargatze, the comedian, was the host. And he did, well, first of all, he looks like Russ just in general. But he really, really looked like Russ during the George Washington skit. They did a skit where Nate Bargatze played George
he
Washington.
Looked like Russ.
Looked just like him.
Yeah.
And even it was like even sounded like Russ a little bit. I was like Russ with a couple drinks in him is what it sounded like. It was. If you could pull up that photo, Russ,
I'm working on it.
The photo itself is just absolutely unbelievable.
I've got it.
When I watched, I was like, oh my! I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was like, here it comes. It's going to be on the screen here in just a second. Look at this. Okay. Looks just like him.
Russ multi-talented. You play him, R2-D2, all kinds of different characters.
I'm very talented. Very talented. You know, as a kid, all I ever wanted to do was be on SNL, and I can tell you now, I've been on SNL.
That's amazing.
I enjoyed hosting it. It was great. A lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. But we got a minute to go here, Russ, before we got to go back to the second period.
So we all had the Kings winning. I think I said that it was going to be 3-2 after one with the Kings leading. The Flyers, I have to say, the most disappointing thing is their inability to finish their chances. They were not sharp in that period. Where do you guys think the score sits when we come back here in the second intermission?
I think it could be. That's a good question, Russ. You know what? 2-0 lead for LA. They don't give up a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's going to be 3-1. The Flyers are going to have to work it out in the third.
Antony?
That's a good call. But just to be different, I'll go 4-1.
I was going to go 4-1 as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. We will be back for the second intermission, and of course, post-game as well. Make sure you hit that like button, especially if you're on YouTube, and tell a couple of people in your life about Snow the Goalie and about the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi. So says the people. I don't know. So say the people. That's what we're told. Anyway, we'll be back. Second intermission. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X. And we'll talk to you very soon. Oh, by the way, hold your ears as we roll out here. Still haven't figured out why this is so much louder, but we'll talk to you in the second intermission. to the Press Row Show, second intermission. This is the #1 rated second intermission show this side of the Mississippi. That's what people are saying. Welcome in.
Somebody's actually got us beat on the other side of the Mississippi?
I don't know. We can't confirm. Do they have the internet on the other side of the Mississippi?
Oh, my God.
I'll tell you what they do have. They have a hockey team from Los Angeles who has come in here and absolutely blown the doors off of your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers. They have run roughshod. They have decimated, picked apart, obliterated, emasculated the Flyers. Cal Peterson, we said before the game, one of two things is going to happen. He's either going to have some insight and know the nuances of the Kings and have an advantage, or he'll get his doors blown off. Ladies and gentlemen, doors have been blown off. I gave up a goal in the last, with 15.9 seconds left on the clock, that if you want to argue that the other 3 goals, not great, that goal, bad, very bad. What are we doing? What's that?
That means Ant's taking the lead.
Yeah, thanks.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, there's nothing to celebrate. To celebrate.
Yeah, they're so bad they have you misspeaking on the show.
No, I was saying Celebrini. That was a joke.
Oh.
Jeez. Where are you at?
It wasn't a very good one.
No, it was terrible, I guess.
Yeah,
it was bad. It was a bad period all around. And to me, it stems from the fact that you cannot get shots on goal on the power play. I mean, really, it's what it stems from. They had 3 power plays that period. That means that they were on the man advantage for 6 of the 20 minutes.
So
Still got outscored 2-0 in the period.
So what did I tell you right before we started here? I said if I were killing a penalty for the LA Kings, I would literally be laughing at the Flyers because I'd be like, boys, those are some of the most beautiful perimeter passes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And you can keep doing it for 2 minutes if you want.
Yeah.
We'll get our guy back out of the box and go back to 5-on-5. The Flyers power play, I don't know what they're doing, but it ain't working.
No, it's not.
And they need to start shooting the puck, being more hard on the power play, and more driven to start chucking them to the blue paint and getting bodies there with a purpose. Their coach said it 3 nights ago. But they were a little better last night, but tonight it's garbage.
Let me say something though. This is what's annoying me about it, because
Look into the camera when you say it.
Because-
we can clip this later. Go
because
ahead.
Torts is telling us this, right? And he's saying that, and I agree with him that's the, and everything you're saying, Bundy, is spot on, 100% the case. But if you really feel that way, why is Morgan Frost the body in front of the net on the top power play?
Yeah, that to me is absolutely.
He's a playmaker.
He's a playmaker.
Why is he the body in front of the net? All 3 of those power plays, when the #1 unit was on the ice, Morgan Frost is the body in front of the net. That doesn't make any bit of sense to me.
Yeah, you need to have bulk. Somebody like even remember we used to talk with JVR, right? I mean, JVR was a guy you could put in front of that, get stick on the puck, battle for it, long reach, rangy kind of. Playing Morgan Frost in front of the net is one of the most useless things you can do on a power play in hockey. He's too small.
Yeah.
He's not a battler in terms of finding space and out-competing a defenseman that's willing to block a shot.
He's out there against Drew Doughty.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. But
Okay.
that's why you need some beef in front. You need to have. Listen. They get the puck back and they're able to go D to D. But what they need to do is get the shot through and funnel 3 guys in, 2 hard, 1 back for some defensive presence, and in case there's a deep rebound. That's the formula. Like, whoever's running the power play, it's way too much.
Look, and I understand that right now a guy like Tyson Forster is not going, but he's a bigger bodied player. Like if you want to put somebody, give that kid a shot in front of the net. Owen Tippett is a little bit bigger bodied player than Morgan Frost. Give him a shot.
I know why he's doing it. I think it's clear why he's doing it.
Anybody. But Morgan Frost he's a playmaker. He should be on the half wall, looking to make a pass. Him on one side, Brink on the other. Okay, you can run it through either one of them. You get that box with the head on the swivel. Maybe you create something.
How about Tyson Forster?
Yeah, I said that. Yeah,
but because that's the guy that's jonesing for a goal. If something's going to go, it's going to go off his rear end, or he's going to get hit his stick. That's how you get a guy like that going. But Morgan Frost in front of that is a pointless move.
And one last thing before you say it. And I understand that Coots isn't in the lineup. He would probably be that guy if he was in the lineup. But even this was not the better alternative. Go ahead, Russ. I'm sorry.
Is this a moment where Torts is doing the mind game thing again? Like, is this a thing where Torts is saying, all right, dude, like, you want power play time, you want to prove yourself, the man advantage, you're not really making an impact at even strength, go out and make something happen. Could that be what this is? Because aside from that, there is no logic behind having Morgan Frost in that spot. You know, you can make the joke. It's like that old game you used to play in high school in gym class. Like you lose dodgeball, and then the losing team lines up against the wall, and everybody throws the balls at them. Right? I don't remember what that game is.
They only did that up in your neck of the woods.
Oh, up in the coal region.
Were you even allowed to play dodgeball?
Yeah,
Did
dude.
you wake
I
up
was.
in that, weren't you in that little
I was
era
so.
there where they canceled it?
I was so good at avoiding the ball. I couldn't
throw
it.
Idea
Huh?
What that did to people like me and Anthony. It
What?
made men of us.
Yeah. Something had to.
That
But
generation
listen,
never
but-
played dodgeball, and you're worse off for it.
I played dodgeball. I love dodgeball. How dare you, sir? But seriously, though, if we can all agree that there is no logical reason to play him in that spot, is it really just? I mean, is it Ant's point that Couturier would usually have that spot? You're not trying to disrupt it for everybody else, or could it really just be Torts is trying to see if the guy will actually bust it and try to make a play happen there?
I honestly think it's a third thing, Russ.
So this isn't por qué no los dos. This is like el tercero. What? Like what? What is it?
The third thing is they've tried so many other things so far, and it hasn't worked. So they're just trying this now.
Yeah.
They're just looking for something to click. Something. Let's try this. And it doesn't make any sense to you or me or Bundy, but I think that's just really where it's at.
Are you going to ask about it in the post-game press conference? Because we sure aren't going to have an exclusive interview in the locker room after this one. Like, are you going to go out? I feel that question has to get asked.
I mean, I think so.
Like, what's the thought?
I'm thinking of a way to kind of ask it. I mean, without being.
Hey, Torts, the guy who plays pretty soft in the first place is down where you need to play greasy and try to make something happen. What was the thought? There's the question. Ant won't do that.
You want to go down, and I'll host
It's
with
the
Bundy?
media. The media doesn't like to answer the questions. All right, Bundy.
I'm
go ahead.
actually. Let's get on a couple things about the hockey in that period. First
Yeah.
of all, Cam York. I have no idea what that play was. That's a play that it looked like a hand grenade.
Yeah.
And or hot potato. Why the panic? Where a guy that has nobody on him has to make just a 3-foot laser off the boards to get it out, and he throws it up for a souvenir. Yeah. It's a penalty. The Flyers, the fourth goal. I mean, Anthony could have stopped it.
Let's not get crazy.
No,
I could have.
Could have. Like
could've.
you can't give goals like that away and expect it. I mean, 3-0. Power play clicks. They get the goal off of that, and then they get a late one where there's just no focus. It's a lazy wrist shot to the net that beats Peterson short side.
Yeah.
You guys said 4-1. I said 3-1 at the end. No, it was a 2-0 win again for the Kings in that period. And they're well on their way to dancing out of Philly unless the Flyers miraculously find a way to score one goal every 5 minutes without giving the Kings another one.
You know, I hate to go and flip this into like the super negative realm because they did win 5-1 yesterday. They did have a bounce-back performance against the Sabres team that kind of dog-walked them at home. However, there are a few guys that are not getting better. There are a few guys that we have talked about for over a week and a half now about struggling, about looking lost. Cam York has been one of them.
Yeah.
Morgan Frost has definitely been one of them. Tyson Forster has looked like he's lost some confidence. They don't have the depth right now, especially without having a Mark Stahl available on the blue line, especially without having a Coots in the lineup. What can this team do? At what point does it become actively against your interests to play some of these guys when they are struggling the way that they are?
So I think what we're seeing here is the benefit that Carter Hart gave you when he was in goal. Because a lot of times the goalie can cover up for defensive mistakes. And what's happening here is you're getting defensive mistakes that are resulting in goals because, Cal Peterson is not Carter Hart, right? So that makes things a lot different. And then, so we're going to see the mistakes a lot more frequently now, right? I mean, now we're going to be looking for them.
Yeah.
Whereas before, you weren't looking for them so much.
I mean, and that's what happens. But,
Right?
But when I watch a guy like York, to me it's sometimes like he just looks like he's just going through the motions.
Yes.
Like, you can't play like that. You have to have a sense of urgency, a sense of desperation in your play, a sense that wheels are coming off in a game, and he just goes through it like it's just vanilla and it doesn't matter.
He lets the game come to him. He doesn't actively grab the game by the throat. And it might be is it a mental makeup thing? Is it because he's a Cali guy? Like, I don't know, but man, at some point you need a few of these guys who have had rough stretches to actively try. You control the controllables. Your effort is something you can control. Your fire that you play with is something that you can control. You might not be able to control the bounces. You might not be able to control whether or not you end up on the score sheet. But you have to actively work to make yourself better. And he's one of the guys that just game in and game out right now is not one of those guys.
To answer Bob's question that you just had up there, at what point do you worry about regression with some of these guys? I don't worry yet. This is the 12th game of the season, and it's been more inconsistency right up to this point. I don't think it's been they're going backwards. So I don't worry about regression, and I think that sometimes we get kind of caught up in the fact that they're playing a bad game and saying, "Oh, well, they're regressing," and I would not go that far. I would not say that that's where we're at with these guys. That said, if Cam York continues to play like this for another 20 games, 25 games, then you got to start to wonder, okay, what exactly is Cam York, you know? And I think ultimately what we're going to learn, and this is not anything that is new on this podcast, is that Cam York is not a top pair guy. And what's ultimately happening here is he's playing top pair minutes with Sanheim, and it's just he's struggling because he's playing against a lot of good players.
Yep.
Whereas in the past, the Flyers have done a nice job of kind of, putting him out there in more advantageous situations.
Yeah, I agree, and they're going to try to find that because, you don't want to keep throwing a guy to the wolves every night where he does. That's how regression does happen when the player feels he's lost his confidence totally. He's got work to do. He's got to take, I hate reusing the word, he's got to take a bigger bite of the apple than he's doing, because you can't just get by with just being present on the ice and waiting for the play to come to you and you reacting to whatever comes to you. Take the bull by the horns and try to use some of that skill and talent. I mean, he went in the first round for a reason. Somebody obviously saw he does have some puck-moving skills, but he's got to have a lot more. He's got to be a lot more on his toes, and he's got to be a lot more determined.
I know we've said it a lot, but you can't give up on a young defenseman. And it's kind of hard, and I think it's probably unfair for us to totally evaluate what he is as a player when you don't have a Rasmus Ristolainen in the lineup, when you don't have a Mark Stahl in the lineup for what he was supposed to be brought in to do. You hope that obviously, in the next 7 or 8 weeks, you would obviously hope that you're going to have back both of those guys. And then at that point, you kind of reconfigure the pairings, and then maybe you see if he settles back in. But I have to be honest, I am shocked that Tortorella has not broken up that pair yet.
What are you going
to do?
Until Risto comes back, what are you going to do? You don't really have another NHL caliber guy that can play those top minutes.
Sean Walker.
Well, I mean, he's
Mr. Steady.
Guy. But I mean, again, and I'm just going to flat out say it. That top line stuff's not designed for Risto either.
Yeah,
it's not.
He's the next best option we have.
Right.
That's fair.
Right. That's the next answer.
You know what? I actually like that. Some guy just said it. Zamula. I don't mind that. If you're gonna try something, try that.
Yeah.
I mean, at least he goes out and he tries, right?
Yeah.
He tries to make plays, and
he did have a moment in.
Oh, he's gonna have moments. But I'll live with the effort rather than the nonchalant. Oh, I'm so great with the puck that I can make a play with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
That ain't working. You got to try. That's what Anthony Beer's saying, Russ. There's not a lot of options you have.
Yeah.
So that's why we're stuck with York in that top pair.
I see somebody ask about Ryan Ellis.
Hey, Brian,
Brian.
You know what? Brian should ask Bill Meltzer about Ryan Ellis.
I'll tell you what.
You know what I do love about the intermission?
What's that?
You're never going to get gaslit here. You go listen to a lot of other outlets. You get gaslit the whole intermission.
Yeah.
Tell you how great it is. Come here. There's no BS. It's all honest. And we tell you exactly what went on in the period. We don't skirt around it because we have bosses looking over our shoulder.
Yeah,
Come on
that's
here
true.
and listen to it.
That's true. Some people think of that as negative. I will point back to the fact that when this season started and things were going well, we applauded the effort of this team. We applauded the effort of some of the younger players on this team who really were.
We applauded their effort this morning.
Yeah, we did. On the morning after recap. We did. But the thing is, I think that sometimes people check in here, and when the game isn't going well, we have to critically break down what the game is. What? I'm playing
Dodgeball's a game me and Anthony played as kids, Russ.
That's right. I don't know. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Great movie.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie.
There is a question for you, Bundy, from Ryan. Asking about Ronnie Attard. I'll let you take it if you want, just since he asked you. But I mean, there's a reason why Ronnie Attard's not here.
Yeah, for more development, because they do think I think they think he has a future and he can play. So yes, that guy, like we've talked about this last year, 2 years ago. The core of this team may not even be here right now.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, you got Mishkov, you got
Cutter
Gauthier. There's a lot of guys that are going to develop, but that reason for Attard is to give him more of a chance this season, and you might be able to play him in the top 4 minutes if you're happy with the way he looks.
Just from a macro view here, if you look at some of the early scouting reports for the upcoming draft, there are multiple guys that are projected to be top pair defensemen in this draft. I know it's very hard to project what a defenseman is actually going to look like, what his ceiling is, and how he can maybe reach it. But the positive is, if you're the Flyers, and if this rebuild season does go the way that you would expect it to, which is this team is going to lose a lot of games and end up with a high pick, at least it's going to be a year where the expectation is that there are quite a few solid defensive prospects that could go at the top of the draft.
Sure.
And so when you say that, like, hey, this might not be the core, or this might not be the set of guys that could be that top pair
Russ,
defense.
It's hit or miss, buddy.
Yeah.
You never know, right?
Yep.
Like, you just never know. That's why you hope you get good people that can pull good drafts for
Yep.
you.
So we're about to head into the third period. It's I don't know. Guys, what do you think the score is going to be at the end of this one? I don't think any of us are going to get our score right.
5-2 Kings.
Oh, do you think 5-2?
Yeah.
Ant?
5-2 is about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do not think that they're going to get to the 6-4 score that I thought they were going to. I do think that LA can end up with 6. I'll go 6-1.
Okay.
So we'll be back for post-game. Bundy and I will be doing that. Ant will be in the bowels of Wells Fargo Center for the Torts Presser. Join us after the game. And here we go. We're going to roll out. And it's going to be loud, so everybody hold your ears. Well, we picked the Kings to win, but did we pick the Flyers to get shut out for the first time this season? No, we did not. Welcome into the Press Row Show post-game. We're going to call this the unofficial therapy session for Flyers fans out there. It's a late start, a 7:30 game. We had to deal with the late start. Now everybody's getting frustrated as they're getting ready to go off and do their thing on a Saturday night. You might already be out. Perhaps you're out having some food, having some beverages with your friends, and of course you're checking into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated post-game show this side of the Mississippi. I'm Russ Joy. That's Bundy. Let's get into this game. An absolute debacle. I don't know if there's a good way to... Sometimes you look for positives in a game and you say, hey, they didn't break through. However, there were these 3 things that we can take away and say that was a positive. That ain't here.
We didn't get that tonight. What's disappointing is it was a great crowd here tonight. Wanted to see kind of the team that played well last night. It was Military Appreciation Night. I know you're never going to be able to satisfy, what the night is.
Yeah.
Because it's just not the way it goes. But what I will say is that the team disappointed in the sense that they had such a good night last night. They came back home, and we just did not see the same team. It was, again, a different team in a lot of ways from the one that we got treated to last night.
Yeah,
so,
it was just, that was brutal. Like, that was legitimately brutal. There are so many questions and there are so many concerns that come out of that game because all of the guys that we talked about for the first 2 intermissions remain legitimate issues. The guys that we thought struggled remain struggling. We did not have a breakout performance there in the 3rd period by a Cam York. As a matter of fact, and I could be wrong unless it happened on one of the last shifts, I do not recall seeing Cam York on the ice in the 3rd period. Would love to hear from the folks in the comments if I am mistaken.
We do miss stuff sometimes, so if someone did, I didn't see him. I don't remember seeing him. I watched when we realized that and that happens a lot. Even broadcasts, like, oh my God, we didn't notice someone wasn't on the ice. He didn't deserve to be on the ice.
No.
I mean, at the end of that 2nd period was just god awful, and again, that's a kind of effort that's not going to make your coach endear you. And I'll be, again, maybe he sticks with him a little bit, but that was just, to me, maybe tired legs. I'll give him a breather on that early in the year, but I just don't think that was the kind of effort that we wanted to see.
Yeah. Michael here, thank you for your service. Says, as a military vet, I was not appreciative of this game. I want to address something here because, as we always say, we here at Snow the Goalie and at the Press Row Show, we are critical when it is required. We are, I don't know, I think we like to be positive when things are positive. We like to try to find a silver lining. We don't want to just come on here and crap all over things. But tonight's game was not good. But we do have to mention this. Now, I cannot confirm this. I did not listen to the TV telecast. But Lenda Joseph says, JJ, Jim Jackson, mentioned in the broadcast York's absence and tried to say it was bad luck. Len says, no, it was bad unforced error and lack of compete that got him benched. Yeah. I have to call this out.
That's gaslighting.
We have to call it out.
That's not honest. That's not. He threw a puck 15 feet over the glass on a lob.
Yes.
If you're focused and in the mindset to play an NHL game, you don't make a play like that. That's not bad luck.
No, that's bad play.
That's bad play.
So, I'm going to be very careful here. Not that we have to be, but, that's not good analysis. That's not true. It's not bad luck. And by the way, the last 5 or 6 games that we have kind of focused in on Cam York and Travis Sanheim together, that was not bad luck either. At some point, as we said in the intermissions, you have to control your controllables, control your effort, control the fire you play with, try to grab the game by the throat. When your team is losing in the dominant fashion that this team was losing, you need a spark. I'm not saying that Cam York has to drop the gloves. I'm not saying Cam York has to run a guy against the boards. I'm not saying any of that. But what I do expect, and I'm sure what John Tortorella expects, and we expect to have Torres' press conference here on the Press Row Show post-game, is I expect a guy to go out and make it appear as though he's trying to dominate play, to make it appear as though he's trying to do the right things. Cam York did not do that in this game. That's not bad luck.
Yeah, nothing to do with bad luck at all. That's
None.
absolutely zero to do with bad luck. That's just a guy not prepared to play the game at a high level.
Yeah.
You need to learn from that.
Yep.
And that's something, again, that I will always say to a younger guy, you're willing to have patience, and I do. But playing top minutes with Sanheim, in that top minutes pair spot, you have got to be completely prepared for that.
Yep.
And it's not about getting points. It's not about any of that. It's about trying to take a bite out of the other team's top line so that they don't hurt you. And then that you give your team team's top line an opportunity to try to get back in it.
Matt Beagle says here, at what point is York just being asked to do too much? He's been asked to do too much since pretty much the onset of the season.
Well, last year, remember how they handled him last year? Torts thought, like, you know what? I don't like his attitude. We're going to send him down.
Yeah.
Now, you get to a point where you can really put a guy in a box doing that, so I don't necessarily – more
Have a
fans.
good night.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Yeah, so you get more people coming, a guy like that playing the kind of game like that, and I think that you can't just send him down anymore because you're not going to get anything better than that in terms of what you're at. You need to develop the guy, but he needs to be better. Like, when you're playing games like that, he's just got to flat out be better, understand, watch the tape again, but you cannot put knuckleball pucks in the stands when there's nobody on you.
I don't want to make this comparison and then have people like start smashing the emergency glass, okay? But I do wonder if this is a situation where you're in a similar place to where you were a few times with Phil Myers, where you say, I'm not sure that the game right now is something that he can process at this level, but he's like a quad A player. He's a guy who's too good to be in the AHL because he's not going to really learn anything, but he's not good enough as currently constructed to play at this level and to play in the kind of role they're trying to play him in. He's in like no man's land.
Too many minutes in terms of getting. I mean, somebody's posted he plays, I think, 23 minutes. This was the wrong one, but they had. Where did I see? I think they just saw. Somebody just said that York's playing 23 minutes. It's way too many minutes. That's a lot of minutes.
Yeah, Raymond.
Yeah. So I mean, again, that's too many minutes for a kid that's still trying to develop. But at the same time, you're thinking, I don't know what they're thinking. Are they saying to themselves, well, we're going to throw him the wolves and hopefully that he absorbs it all and he's better suited down the road? That's a hope for.
Yeah.
I don't like hope for. I like kind of slow walking the process like we talked about Ronnie Adder at the second intermission. Like they're allowing him to develop.
Is that Torts up there? I think it is Torts.
Let's
Hold
go
on.
to it.
Well, power play affects our game. The part we need to learn is we almost make it 2-1 on the foul play. Almost make it 2-1. And then we just little plays, lack of concentration. Next thing you know, score nothing. And those are the lessons we have to learn, especially against them. That's a really good hockey team. Those are the lessons we're going to have to figure out. I think we gain a little momentum on the power play, almost score to make it 2-1. Next thing you know, we throw the puck out of the building, we turn another one over, and it's 4-0. Game over. That's how quickly it can happen. And we're just not built right now to be able to come back from that. So that's the part of the game that I think we're going to go over it and get better from it.
Did you think that the schedule maybe caught you guys at 3 and 4 back-to-back in travel?
Yeah, it gets stacked against you a little bit with the travel, but you know what? I think you can talk yourself into being tired. I think sometimes when you play a back-to-back, once you get those few minutes, and it took us a few minutes to get our legs, I think your second one kicks in. I think you feel better. I like parts of the game. They came out, they tried to get us going. They know we played last night, and I'm sure they talk about it, but we weathered it, and I thought we played fairly well from there. The part for me is it's 2-0 late in the second period. Next thing you know, you're now 4-0.
You talked about you don't want to take moral victories with things like this. Is this one of those games where you just throw completely out, or is there a lot of teachable moments?
Oh, no, there's some teaching that he's done here. Yeah, no, we're not throwing this one out. We're going to teach.
Is it more on the sides of teachable moments for things to work on, or just one of those things where
I just explained it, just the momentums of games, how quickly games can turn on you. If you're not concentrating and your readiness isn't there, especially when you play against a team that's rolling like this that we played tonight, this is what happens. I'm not sure if we get back in the game. I'm not sure if we score 3. Hold of the 2 would score 3. I don't know if that happens, but we're right there. Late in the second period, and the next thing we're walking in between periods 4-0.
What made you decide to sit Cam?
Just what I'm talking about.
Your thoughts on Cal Peterson's game tonight?
I'm not going to evaluate the goalies. Yeah, I thought he made some good saves. I thought something maybe he should have had. I don't know. I got to watch the tape.
Carter and Sean Couturier going on the road trip.
I have no idea. I haven't talked to the trainers.
With Cam York, as you mentioned, do you feel like he's shown his age a little bit? Like it seemed like he kind of faltered tonight. What do you think is going into why he's struggling a little bit?
I'm not going to have to ask him.
Thanks,
I have my thoughts. Okay, thanks.
We're back here on the Press Row postgame show, the #1 rated postgame show this side of the Mississippi.
Yeah, quiet tonight. Yeah, we had a feeling he'd come on quick.
Torts for some interesting insight there. I feel like
no comment on Peterson.
No comment there. And now I could be wrong because it's a little bit hard to hear up here. But when asked about Cam York and if he's showing his age and what could be contributing to him struggling, I think Tortorella said you'd have to ask him. I could be wrong. We'll have to go back and listen to that.
We had limited, so if our fans did hear it, could you let us know what Tort said about Cam York? Because we switch it over. Russ makes a switch. We lose it in the few seconds that we do send it over. So you're going to have to ask him. Woof.
If that's not good. That certainly sounds like a coach who has kind of reached his limit before he makes a change, roster-wise, lineup-wise. I would not be surprised to see Cam York out of the lineup in the next game.
Well, if you're being fair, you sat Frost out for 5 or 6 games, and certainly this guy's warranted to get out too. It's not a punishment. I mean, it kind of is, but you got to learn somehow. You've got to. His is not necessarily about making one bad play after another, even though that puck over the. I mean, that one there, I cannot stress to you. Like, it happens sometimes when you got a guy, and the puck will go up on your stick, and it goes over the glass. It's happened to me. It's happened to other guys. But when there's nobody on you, that is telling me that there's panic setting into your game when there's no need for it. Go back, use your skates, spin back if you have to. He was flat-footed trying to put a puck off the glass, and it knuckled on him. I mean, that could have been a souvenir in the second deck.
Yeah, not good. I think that we're at the point now where it's like there are no. It's unfortunate because you look back and you go like, there have been games that this team has lost this year, especially at home, where we sit here and we go, hey, you know what? Bobby Brink had a nice play. You go like that. That's encouraging. You look at it and you go like, hey, Owen Tippett didn't get on the score, on the scoring sheet, but he had some strong efforts. Usually we can say, hey, Cam Atkinson managed to figure out another way to make a wily veteran play and put a puck in the back of the net. That didn't happen tonight. You look at like a Konechny. Konechny really, I did not feel his
okay early.
Yeah, did not feel his presence. Didn't feel his presence beyond the first period in this game.
Yeah,
which is not good.
Just okay in the first, and then he kind of slid away. You know, the thing is the problem is the game got really hard, right? And they realized like Tort's his view was that, well, we were only down 2 late in the second.
Yeah.
And I didn't really see it like that. Like it felt like it was 4 when it was 2.
Yeah.
And then when it was 4, it felt like it was completely gone. Like there was 0 chance of them coming back. And 4 is obviously asking a lot. 3, I believe you can do if you really stay with it and you get a little bit of momentum going and offensive momentum in the third period. But it just felt like when LA had that 2-0 lead, and again York too on the first goal, he got beat by a stick, lifted, redirected. He had a rough night.
Yeah.
But that wasn't luck either. That's competitiveness and using your smarts to keep your body in position so that puck doesn't get swatted by the other player. So there's a lot of stuff. Listen, I mean, if I'm the coach, I'm looking now just to see, like, you know what, are they trying to win games and collect points, or are they trying to make players better players? There's 2 different theories of coaching, and you just never necessarily know what someone's thinking. But if you've sat Frost that long,
York has to. He has to come out.
Just in the spirit of fairness and trying to make guys better players.
The meritocracy. You earn your time.
Frost tonight, and I saw some people talking. Well, he wasn't great tonight. There wasn't a lot of great guys. He made a couple plays, but again, that's a game tonight when you go back, and I think he's got to, again, get more active. He can make plays, but I think he needs to really start kind of believing in what he's doing and not getting himself in situations where he's going to get hurt like that.
Yeah. We had a bunch of there's a comment here about, just going back to the very questionable things on the TV telecast. And again, we did not listen to the TV telecast, so I don't know if I want to quote this one exactly, but there was a potential statement on the TV telecast that perhaps the ice was wonky tonight because the court was down earlier today when the Sixers won. Let me ask you. let me just ask you from your days. Does the ice get wonky when the Sixers play an afternoon game and the Flyers play a night game?
It only gets wonky for the Flyers and not for the Kings, though.
Yeah.
There's only one team. If you come in here and you have a game, only the Kings won't respond to wonky ice, but the Flyers will. So next time there's an afternoon game, make sure the Flyers don't have a game against the Kings that night because wonky stuff can happen, and when wonky stuff happens, that's a problem.
It's a great answer. I love it. Last thing. Peterson did not have a good game tonight.
I don't need to sit here and waste any more time saying that. I mean, there's a couple of goals he'd like back, but some of them just weren't great.
Yeah. If you go back and you think about that move, I don't think anybody thought that when they brought Cal Peterson in that he was going to be the backup goalie here. I don't think anybody even thought that he would really see any time at the NHL level. They clearly believed in Carter Hart. They clearly believed in Sam Ersson. They decided to go into the season with Felix Sandstrom as the third goalie. Peterson was not figured into that equation. But you have a bunch of injuries, and this is what happens. Injuries and the conditioning stint that eventually ended up seeing Sandstrom injured anyway. It's hard. It's his first game of the season. And maybe the inverse of the logic going into the game is true, where you say, hey, maybe he has some insight into his former teammates' play and style of play. One could also argue that then that means that the other team knows where he struggles and where they can maybe beat him. But not all 5 of these goals tonight were his fault solely, but it was not a strong performance.
Johnny, we first called up Brian Boucher. It was 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And we do the semicircle shooting around the net, and I looked at Johnny and said, hey, where's this guy weak? I didn't know him. New kid. Yeah. Johnny goes on the net. He ended up being a pretty good goalie for sure. That was funny. It was the first day up. Just I go, where's this guy weak, Johnny? On the net.
On the net. Linda Joseph wants us to come up with a hoodie. Bad puck luck and wonky ice.
Is that really the word wonky?
Wonky.
Like Willy Wonky?
No, that's Willy Wonka.
Oh.
Remember the Wonky Donkey? That's a good book that you could read for Bundy's bedtime stories.
I'll be reading children's books.
I was walking down the road and I saw a donkey. Hee-haw.
We can't do any wonky
He was a wonky donkey. What?
We can't do any wonky donkey stuff here tonight or children's books yet.
Yeah, that's right.
We do, but you know what? I know we're going to be getting off soon, but I will tell you one thing. We will be having some morning after shows coming up.
We do.
Flyers heading on the West Coast. So
God help us.
This is a game. But
or if you don't believe in God, tree help us. We don't want to be insensitive.
But thank God, though, the Flyers got that win last night, right, Russ?
Yeah.
Because now they get to head out, a rough game at home, and they're going to take off on, I believe they are leaving tomorrow.
Yeah, they've got, they have the Sharks on Tuesday. You have to win that game. If there's one that you're going to try to win on this West Coast swing, San Jose is one that you should really target.
The Sharks right now are on pace to be the worst team in the history. They haven't won yet.
Yeah.
The worst team in the history of the NHL.
You have to beat them. You have to.
Yeah, you cannot lose that game.
If they do, I don't know. We're going to have a hell of a morning after show on that Wednesday.
We are.
So they've got the Sharks on Tuesday. They play in Anaheim on Friday.
Yep.
Those are both late night starts.
Yep.
And then they've got the Kings on Saturday, which means obviously the morning after show we do the day after the game. We wake up sometimes during mongrel hours, but we've gotten Bundy to commit to it, which is great. Hopefully these aren't going to be painful mornings where we wake up and want to rip our hair out, because for Bundy and I, we have quite a bit of hair. We have a little bit of flow, a little bit of lettuce up top.
We do, yeah. We have very good hair, Russ. Yes.
And not so much,
but working on it.
He's
put some seeds on it and watered it.
Little chia. Oh, and then by the way, as if Anaheim and LA weren't bad enough, then you have to go on. You're still on the road. And you play Carolina. Then you come home though. You get a nice little cupcake. You have the Golden Knights coming to town for the first
1
game
o'clock, though.
when they're back.
But it's a 10 a.m. for the night start, so you never know, Russ.
Wonky ice, or perhaps
Ice,
the cross country time. This is going to be. Wait, I mean, honestly, when you look at the schedule for like from now through Thanksgiving, it is not a forgiving schedule for this team. We will be here to cover it all, of course. We'll be here to cover it for the press row show when they are home, but otherwise we'll be doing the morning after show, and I will let people know. I know that we did not do a regular Snow the Goalie podcast this week. We will be doing one next week. I'm not sure. We might actually be using the new studio next
we have a
week.
new studio coming about, and we're
so
excited about
we'll
that.
keep people posted on that one. But make sure you follow us on YouTube. You subscribe to the channel, and you ring the bell to get notified whenever we go live with a show. You can follow us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter /X @SnowTheGoalie, Instagram @SnowTheGoalie, TikTok @SnowTheGoalie. Where we've been trying to post some stuff, having a little bit of fun.
We do have fun.
Yeah,
That's one thing. We don't just we love hockey, we talk hockey, but we have fun.
Yeah.
It's like three guys hanging around, and we feel like our fans are every bit as much here with us as just the three of us.
Yep.
And that's what's so great about this podcast, because we love having the questions, the engagement from fans, the madness, the love, all of it.
That's right.
So we're really, really happy about that. And again, even tonight, great crowd here on the balcony. We're super excited to see them all the time.
We had a lot of people up here today.
It was really busy.
It really was cool.
Best crowd of the Flyers seat. Actually, Russ, I'm willing to say this might be the best crowd I've seen here for Flyers in over 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then that's what's unfortunate about losing the way that they did. You know, to get their doors blown off tonight, because the fans did show up. They were loud early. They really were trying to.
Awesome.
They were really trying to get this team back into it. It just it never played it out. So, anyway, we will have, like I said, press row show. It'll be 2 weeks now. It's like a 2-week layoff we have until we're back here in press row.
Yep.
We'll be doing the morning after shows, the morning following all of these West Coast games, and then the Carolina game as well. And we have a regular Snow the Goalie podcast coming up next week. We'll make sure that we drop that schedule on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled there. And you can follow Bundy on Twitter @Therien6. I'm @JoyOnBroad. Anthony's @AntSanPhilly. And I guess that's probably it for tonight.
See you guys on Wednesday morning, unless we have some reels come out before then.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Great
and
stuff.
don't forget, tell other people. Tell some Flyers fans in your life. You got Thanksgiving coming up.
Yes.
Instead of bringing up politics at the table, like some of you sickos are going to do, because you just want to, get in a fight with your uncle, right? Instead of doing that, you let them know about the Only Flyers podcast, Know the Goalie. Bond this Thanksgiving, All right.
See you guys Wednesday.
Yep. We will talk to you all very
Love you
soon.
all.
Everybody have a great night. Thanks for watching. We will talk to you very soon.